Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Rajwa Nurul Aini with student number 2223240104. I'm from class 4C. Have you ever wondered how teachers know exactly what to teach on a random day? Well, it doesn't happen by accident. Today, I'm going to look at how I take a syllabus and break it down into daily lesson plans. Now let's get into my presentation. To keep things simple, I have broken this presentation down into 3 main parts. In part 1, I will talk about the syllabus focusing on the learning outcomes or CP and the learning sequence or ATP. In part 2, I will zoom in on the actual lesson plan and I will talk about the learning objectives, materials, activities, and assessments that I designed. And finally, in part 3, I will share my reflection and conclusion to highlight what I learned from designing this whole project. Now, let's start with part 1. So, what exactly is a syllabus? So, think of it as a big plan for a subject across a whole semester or year. It outlines what students are expected to achieve by the end of the class. It maps out the topics, the skills, and the order in which they will learn them. And in Indonesia's Merdeka Curriculum, this big plan includes 2 main things. First, the CP or capaian pembelajaran, and ATP or alur tujuan pembelajaran. Now let's look at the CP first. And CP is simply what students should be able to do by the end of phase E. And for my English class, I focused on 4 main goals. First is communicate by using English in spoken, written, and visual forms across real situations. Second, to think critically by teaching them to express opinions and compare ideas about issues close to their daily lives. Third, respect culture by understanding both Indonesian and global perspectives. And fourth, build confidence by helping them speak and write as independent and responsible communicators. Next is ATP, and this is how I pace the learning across 18 weeks, moving smoothly from simple to complex topics. In week 1 to 4, I start with daily talk, covering basic greetings and introductions. In week 5 to 8, I move into social interaction, like giving compliments and responding to peers. By week 9 to 12, I step up to sharing opinions, to learning how to agree, disagree, and how to compare ideas. And by the weeks of 13 to 16, for text production, where students practice report writing and read fiction. And finally, weeks 17 and 18, we tackle real issues where students evaluate info for a final presentation. Now let's move to part 2. If the syllabus is the big roadmap, the lesson plan gives the turn-by-turn direction for one specific day. In the Merdeka Curriculum, we call this the modul ajar. A good lesson plan covers 4 things: the learning objective, the learning steps, the learning materials, and how learning is checked or the assessment. And to show you how this works, here is the profile for the specific lesson I designed. I designed for Seman 5 Tamu Selatan for an English class. It is designed for phase E, which is grade 10. The time allocation is 3 JP times 45 minutes, meaning I have a solid 135 minutes. The topic is self-introduction by using a communicative model with a genre-based approach. And for this 135-minute class, I set 4 clear goals. By the end of the meeting, students should be able to: first, identify information from a self-introduction text. Second, use basic self-introduction expressions correctly. Third, introduce themselves clearly in both speaking and writing. Fourth, show their starting ability through a quick diagnostic test. So, what are they actually learning? As I said, the main material is the self-introduction text. I want students to talk about themselves clearly, which includes stating their name and where they are from, sharing their age, hobbies, and personal interests, using common expressions like my name is or I live in, and practicing correct pronunciation and sentence structure. And to teach this effectively, I use the genre-based approach. It sounds technical, but it's just 4 steps that guide students from watching an example to doing it on their own. First is BKOF or build knowledge, where we watch a video and discuss real example. Second is MOT or model the text, where I show them the actual sentence structure. Third is DCOT or joint construction, where they practice together in pairs with my help. And finally, ICOT or independent construction, where the students confidently introduce themselves on their own. And to make the lesson engaging, I use a mix of learning media. First, digital tools to show videos, worksheets for individual practice, the printed textbook for reference, and the standard classroom tools like the whiteboard and pens, etc. And managing 135 minutes is hard, so I break it down into 3 parts. First, the opening takes 20 minutes. I read them, share the goals, and ask trigger questions to get them thinking. Next is the main activities, takes 105 minutes. This is the core work where we watch a video doing the worksheet, learning the structure, practicing in pairs, and taking a quick test. And the closing is 10 minutes where we collect, I give feedback, and we preview the next lesson. And next, the tasks they do during those 105 minutes are very hands-on. There is pair practice so they can rehearse together. There is individual writing where they draft their own text. There is an oral performance in front of the class and a diagnostic quiz using a Google form to check their vocabulary and their understanding. So I checked their progress in 3 ways. First, diagnostic at the start. I check their vocabulary and readiness using a quick quiz. Next is formative. During the lesson, I observe their participation and how they work on their M.Pd worksheets. And lastly, summative. So at the end, I use a rubric to score their written text and their paired dialogue. And this brings me to part 3, which is designing the whole module. Taught me a lot. First, designing a syllabus and lesson plan takes more than I expected because every tiny detail has to connect back to the chapter. And second, starting with a familiar topic like self-introduction makes it much easier to guide students through the deeper learning stages. And finally, we have to plan for real classroom challenges like mixed skill levels and limited technology. To conclude, a well-designed syllabus and a lesson plan are what turn the Merdeka curriculum's big ideas into something teachers can actually use. By starting with clear outcomes, passing the lessons logically, and checking progress regularly, English learning becomes structured and meaningful for grade 10 students. And before I wrap up, here are the attachments. I have also provided the links so you can check them out. And thank you all for watching my video. See you!